Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica. We're doing a series on Ridge Racer where we review every single mainline entry in a retrospective fashion, and we can definitely count to the number 6 because we're playing Ridge Racer 6 today on the Xbox 360. And this release was super interesting because this series had always been a Sony PlayStation exclusive for the most part, but this was the first game to come over to a console that wasn't PlayStation based. And when this game came out, I absolutely fell in love with it. I've got a really interesting history with it, which I'll get into in the video. Before doing it too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined to watch our channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, when I first played Ridge Racer 6, I fell in love. The modern HD graphics, the speed, the sensation, the drifting, everything hit in Ridge Racer 6 the way that I wanted Ridge Racer 5 to hit, and never quite felt as attached to. And that's just one of those things. Every entry in the franchise has its own charms, and definitely people like some more than others. And basically, Ridge Racer 7 is considered to be the best modern game in the series, but that's because it basically is an evolution of 6. Now I am playing today on Xenia. I am emulating this versus using real 360 hardware, and that's because way back in the day when this game first came out, I bought it and I ended up red ringing my Xbox 360 while playing it and had to wait around for a warranty. I took my Xbox 360 out of the closet today to capture this game, and within 2 minutes I managed to red ring it again. So apparently Ridge Racer 6 is a cursed game for me, and unlike back in the day, I'm pretty sure Microsoft isn't honoring repair warranties anymore, so I'll have to source another 360. But honestly, Xenia is relatively good for this game, so if you ever want to give it a shot, go ahead. But getting off track a little bit in a retrospective, Ridge Racer 6 basically felt like the true evolution of the franchise. I remember enjoying Ridge Racer 5 when it came out, but when 6 hit, it just felt like a completely new modern take on a classic. You got the HD graphics and everything else that comes along with the Xbox 360 generation, and you get all of the insane handling and physics that Ridge Racer was known for. And I would say that I think Ridge Racer 6 and by extension 7 have some of the best drifting and physics in the entire franchise. If you make a mistake and you hit the wall, it's because you made it happen, not because the game was fighting you. And I will be playing in first person mode because that is the only way in my opinion to play this game. There's just something about drifting around the corners with that cockpit view. It really does help you keep off the wall but close enough to it so you're getting the best clean racing line. And honestly, that's what you're going to need to do in Ridge Racer 6 if you want to see a checkered flag in first place. Everybody here is very competitive and they will push you. Now you will see there's a couple of those wiggling trees right there. That is Xenia, not much I can do about that. But otherwise, this game emulates incredibly well. So if you ever want to give it a try, I definitely recommend it. As we get to the second race here, I love those tail light streaks. I love the sparks coming off the car. This game just felt so much more vibrant and so much more alive than Ridge Racer 5. And I think it just is the jump to the generation that we're on with 360. There was just that extra horsepower to make the game look that much prettier in motion. And it definitely does look pretty. The color vibrancy has been toned down, so it's not that arcade poppy color in every stage that you are used to. But I think it does work relatively well for the Ridge Racer franchise. Now this game did bring in boosting, and that is one of those things people either seem to absolutely love it or absolutely think it ruined the franchise. I don't mind it so much, but I always forget to use it because I'm so used to playing arcade Ridge Racer games. I will forget to actually pop the boost off here and there, and you do charge that up with the drifting mechanic. The longer and better your drift, the more that nitrous tank is going to fill up, so you really do want to drift basically everywhere you can so long as you're not using speed. And I really do like that risk versus reward gameplay nature. Do you want to try to eke that drift out just a little bit longer to fill up the next boost gauge, or do you want to exit out of that drift to get a little bit better of a clean racing line when it comes to the straightaway? You need to decide that for yourself, and I really do appreciate that. It kind of makes you think on your toes what is the best course of action. Well, leave me a comment down below and you tell me, nitrous in a Ridge Racer game, did it improve the franchise? Did it really not change your mind at all? Or do you think it actually was to its detriment? Because I've heard a lot of comments in this retrospective so far, and they've basically been 50-50 in both directions. Either people think that it definitely gave this series a new lease on life, or people think that boost was to its detriment and it kind of ruined the franchise. But the one thing that came over whole cloth, no issues whatsoever, is an amazing soundtrack. Go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll be right back.
Beat the record. Great.
Awesome music for sure, but Ridge Racer was always known for that. But the one thing I don't particularly love about Ridge Racer 6 is the announcer. It's feeling like it's trying to target a certain younger demographic, and it comes off a little bit forced. Obviously, it really isn't the biggest deal in the world. It is one of those things you can completely ignore the announcer. When I first heard that, it kind of just felt a little bit unlike Ridge Racer. But if that's the smallest complaint I can find about the game, then honestly we're doing relatively well. And you'll see they're using that boost at the right time and drifting. You can go from 3rd, 4th place all the way to 1st place, and it is a core mechanic of the game. And if you don't boost at the right time, you're not going to see that checkered flag. I usually save at least 1 boost for the final lap, if not 2, because you're going to end up in a situation where you're in 3rd or 2nd place and you don't have enough speed to get around your opponent. And I think that's where the overall I love it or I hate it feeling about the boost comes in. You can lose a race that you feel like you should have won because you don't have a boost available. You can win a race that you wouldn't have won in any other Ridge Racer game preceding this because you use that boost at the right time. So it does kind of change up the gameplay in that respect. It's no longer just about a clean racing line. It's about also preserving the boost and firing it off at the right time so that you can kind of take advantage of that and move in front of your opponents. And that does change the core mechanic of Ridge Racer up, but I understand why the developers at Namco would have wanted to put boost into this game. By the time you get to Ridge Racer 6, we had played so many entries in the franchise. While all of them were good and some of them were absolutely spectacular, they all kind of ended up feeling a little bit the same after you got to Ridge Racer 5. So putting in boost does kind of make the game feel a little bit more modern and a little bit more unique, and it did, at least in my opinion, give it a breath of fresh air. But as we drive around this track here, I do love how it looks on Xbox 360. This generation was basically the first HD generation we ever had, and while it definitely hasn't aged as well as some other generations in my opinion, it does look pretty here. And the overall colorways and palette they're using, I know some people love it, some people hate it. I'm kind of ambivalent depending on what level we're actually playing. Here as we're driving around this seaport, it does feel like an overcast gray day, so it makes sense that the lighting and color profile a little bit more subdued. But honestly, I do slightly miss the amped up colors of Ridge Racer as well. So if you ever get a Ridge Racer 8, I do hope that they go back to that overall arcade colorway and just give us some of the poppiest, most vibrant colors we can get. Because you will see there the sun is coming out, but it doesn't really reflect well on the overall landscape. These are tiny nitpicks talking about the visual language of Ridge Racer and where Ridge Racer 6 went with it. But as far as the driving is concerned, the drifting, the physics in this game, 10 out of 10 exceptional. I have absolutely no notes whatsoever. This is the type of game that as soon as you learn your car, you understand its drift and mechanics as far as how that particular car handles, you're going to absolutely be destroying these racetracks when you actually learn them. And that's what I really want out of an arcade racing game, even if it is just a home console arcade racing game. I want to be able to learn and master a vehicle and the track and feel like I succeed or fail based upon my knowledge of the track and the car, and not because the game's physics were fighting me. If you throw a couple sweet jumps in there, I'm always going to be game. But one more soundtrack sample because this game has a great one. 30 seconds and I'll be right back with more.
Oh yeah, this one's yours. Whoa, here comes some crazy nitrous. Nitrous ready.
Spectacular music, and if I would make one note about the presentation, this game absolutely excels in the nighttime levels. Driving through this tunnel, seeing the roof fall off into black, getting those street signs lighting everything up, and just basically driving by your headlights just has such a vibe to it. It's gritty, it's more realistic, and it really does work. And I just love how all of those arrows glow on the sides of your screen, so I think, at least in my opinion, the nighttime levels are absolutely hands down better than the daytime levels, at least in the visual appearance. But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think. But honestly, Ridge Racer 6 was just a spectacular game back in the day, and it is still fun today. It brought Ridge Racer into the HD era, it changed up the mechanics, and basically made it feel fresh and new again, and that's something that the series is definitely seeking at that point in time. But I still have a few episodes left, leave me a comment down below, but other than that, we are done. Ridge Racer 6, great, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.